For those of us who care deeply about sound, the texture of a saxophone, the shimmering decay of a cymbal, the chest thump of a bass drum, we're always chasing purity, realism, and that emotional connection in our playback systems. In this pursuit, the subject of balanced versus unbalanced connections come up often, usually with strong opinions attached. But what does it actually mean? Can you hear a difference? And is balance always better? In this video, I'll explain what balanced and unbalanced audio connections really are without diving into tech jargon or drowning in audiophile buzzwords. This is a clear, real world breakdown to help you understand whether you actually need balanced cables in your system, whether they sound better, and what they're really doing behind the scenes. It's all about cutting through the noise, literally and figuratively, so you can make smarter, simpler decisions that serve your music. So, first, what are balanced and unbalanced connections really? Unbalanced is the simplest and most common type of connection, especially in home audio. RCA cables we've all used are the classic example. An unbalanced cable has two conductors. A signal wire carries the original audio signal. Ground wire completes the circuit and acts as a shield. But here's the catch: over long distances or near noisy electronic devices, that signal wire can pick up interference and has no way to cancel out the noise it collects along the way. Balanced connections or cables, typically XLR or TRS for tip ring sleeve, are designed to reject that noise even over long cable runs. A balanced cable has three conductors. Hot, which is positive, carries the original signal. Cold, inverted, carries an inverted version of the same signal. Ground is still used as a shield. Here's the trick: when the signal reaches the other end, the cold, inverted signal is flipped back, and any noise that got picked up along the way is cancelled out because the interference will be out of phase. This is called common mode noise rejection. To explain this in simpler terms, let's try this analogy. Think of a balanced audio cable like a delivery truck carrying two versions of your music signal from your source to your amp, one regular and one upside down. The first wire, called hot, carries your music signal normally, just as it sounds. The second wire, called cold, carries the same signal but flipped upside down, kind of like a mirror image. The third wire is ground. This doesn't carry sound, but it helps block outside noise and keeps things stable. Now, imagine that on the way to your amplifier, both of these wires, hot and cold, pick up the same unwanted noise, maybe a bit of hum from a nearby power cable or interference from your Wi Fi router. Here's the clever part: when the signal reaches your amp, the system flips the cold wire back upright to match the hot one. So now both versions of your music are perfectly in sync again. But guess what? The noise that hit both wires on the journey doesn't line up anymore. It's flipped, out of phase, and gets cancelled out like noise being erased from the track. This smart trick is called common mode noise rejection, but you don't need to remember that. Just know this: balanced cables don't eliminate noise by blocking it, they cancel it out with math and symmetry. Quick note: if you like this practical, jargon free explanation and you're wrestling with your own hi fi questions, from noisy gear to mismatched components or confusing specs, acoustics, room acoustics, or speakers, I'm considering offering focused one on one sessions to help. It's something I've been getting asked about a lot in the comments, by email, and it's a way to go deeper with people who want more personal guidance. So, If you're interested in working with me directly to get your system sounding right, just let me know by email so I can work on setting up a booking system online that'll work for both of us. So, back to this topic. The plus 6 dB gain, is it a myth with balanced connections? What's really happening? One technical point you may have heard is that balanced XLR connections give you plus 6 dB more gain than unbalanced RCA. That's partially true, but let's unpack what that means when a piece of equipment is truly balanced from input to output. The signal is split into two equal halves, one positive, one inverted, and when these are recombined at the receiving end, their amplitudes add together. This results in a voltage that is twice as strong, which translates into a plus dB of gain. But, and this is important, this extra gain is only real if both source and destination components are truly balanced. You actually get plus 6 dB when you connect a fully balanced source like a DAC or preamp to a fully balanced input like a power amp or active monitor using an XLR to XLR connection. Both components must be designed internally with symmetric signal paths, hot and cold, not just one mirrored from the other. You don't get plus 6 dB when converting RCA to XLR with a passive adapter or cable. You're still only sending one signal leg, so the receiving device only sees a single-ended signal. Also, you don't get that plus 6 dB when your gear inside isn't truly balanced, even if it has XLR jacks. Also note, while the plus dB boost may sound like an upgrade, it doesn't mean you get more fidelity. It simply means that the signal is louder, not necessarily better. In some cases, this extra voltage can overdrive the input of sensitive gear, so it's not always a free bonus. So now, can you hear a difference between balanced and unbalanced? In a perfect world, not really. If you're using short, well shielded, unbalanced cables, say under 6 feet, and everything is plugged into clean power with no interference, the difference in sound between balanced and unbalanced connections may be negligible or non existent. But in the real world, sometimes balanced cables aren't necessarily more audiophile or inherently better sounding, but they are better at solving real world problems, especially in certain situations like long cable runs, noisy electrical environments, ground loop problems, and if you're using pro level gear. Balanced doesn't always mean better sound. Here's a reality check. Just because a component has an XLR output doesn't mean it'll sound better than its RCA output. And why is that? Because many consumer audio components are not truly balanced internally. Sometimes the XLR output is just a mirrored RCA output. For gear designed to be single-ended, balanced might add complexity without any real benefit. So, when should you use balanced connections? Think of balanced cables as a problem solver, not a silver bullet. Use them when you have fully balanced gear. You're running cables more than, say, 10 feet, and you're dealing with buzz, hum, or electrical interference, or you're integrating pro audio gear. But if your source and integrated amp are just a few feet apart on a quiet rack, high quality RCA cables are more than adequate. At the end of the day, what matters is the music. Can balanced connections improve the sound? Yes, but mostly by eliminating things that hurt the sound, like noise, hum, and interference. They don't necessarily make the music sweeter or the treble smoother or the bass deeper just because they're balanced. That depends more on the design of your equipment and the quality of your recordings. The best approach is this. If you're hearing noise or hum, or you're building a system with long cable runs or true balanced gear, try balanced connections. If your system sounds glorious with RCA cables and you hear no issues, don't feel the pressure to switch just because XLR looks more professional. Balanced audio isn't about chasing perfection, it's about keeping your signal clean from point A to point B. It's a practical engineering solution with real benefits when the conditions call for it. If your gear supports it properly and your setup needs it, balanced can help you get closer to the sound that's locked in the grooves or the bits or in your tape. But like everything in audio, the ultimate test is your own ears. So if you found this helpful and you're building your system, you might be wondering, what kind of amplifier should I be even using with my speakers or turntable? Does a class A really sound better? Should I go integrated or separates, tube or solid state? To help demystify all of that, I've created a series of videos aimed squarely at listeners like you, passionate about music but not necessarily fluent in engineering terms. These guides break down the real world differences between amplifier types, what specs actually matter, and how to match an amplifier to your room and your taste.